Hey guys, you looking to be successful at your 2018 fantasy football drafts? And we've got you covered here with the 2018 Draft Loadout with information like my guys, bust candidates, sleepers, deep sleepers, rookie splash, value candidates, and even the loadout software with over 10 years of information packed into a software app for your mobile phone, tablet, or your PC. Make sure you head over to thehateful8ff.com, click on the average donation tab, and sign up via our Patreon account.
Welcome Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. With fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, I'm Pickle, and with me as always, Blackburn.
Good day, gentlemen.
Good day. And Trimboli.
Good day. I love it.
Oh my. Nothing in any of the pre-show talk of any kind of, hey, I'm going to do something off the top.
You should try to follow him. You should really try to follow him one time.
Jeez, that was fun. I was completely caught off guard. Not even a general hint, like I might try something up. I love it though. Caught me off guard now. Okay, back on. Gotta get myself back. All right.
We're gonna edit this out, right?
No, this is great. But yeah, so I'm Pickle. With me as always, Blackburn. Good day, guys. Good day, mate. And Trimboli.
Good day, gentlemen.
Good day, gentlemen.
Come on.
And Trimboli.
We're already here. Let's just do this.
All right. This week we'll be discussing running back ADPs being either too high or too low in our segment, the Fantasy Stock Watch. As always, don't forget to follow the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. Now on to fantasy news and notes.
Fantasy news and notes.
All right, fantasy news and notes presented by Body Armor Super Drink, superior hydration for today's athlete. Check them out at drinkbodyarmor.com or your local convenience store. So,
boom.
There you go.
I like it.
All right, first one out the gate. New Orleans Saints signed running back Terrence West. So we talked about this last week as a potential he was visiting. He has officially signed a 1-year veteran minimum deal. So basically he's going to be insurance while Ingram is out for those 4 games.
Yep.
I mean, I think if they use him in some sort of fashion that they used Mark Ingram, I think that he could be successful. I'm not saying like Mark Ingram's successful, but he could be enough to be a stopgap for those 4 games until they get actually Mark Ingram back. But
he's a plug and play. That's it. I mean, I wouldn't even. You're not gonna draft him. He's got no fantasy value.
No.
It's Kamara's show.
It is. So, but I just think that it's going to be interesting to see how much Kamara takes off during these 4 games when he is the true. I mean, I know West will be in there at some point, but the true running back in that backfield will be interesting to see because I mean, Ingram might never sniff the field. I mean, we talked about this before. He might not see the field when he comes back. I mean, I guess I should say he'll play, but it depends on how well Kamara is doing. It depends on how much he is involved when they get back.
I mean, he's going to be involved. You don't want to totally run Kamara, into the ground.
True, I guess
that's a huge workload he's coming into that he's never had before. Well,
I still think he could be a trade possibility too, because he's going to leave in free agency.
True.
So why not get something for him?
I guess that's true. Play him for a couple games.
Could.
And trade him off. So. The next one, Packers going to be a running back by committee. The fact of the matter is we're going to go by running back by committee per McCarthy, told Rob Dabowski of ESPN's NFL Nation the other day. So
garbage.
Right.
Oh, this is not what you want for fantasy purposes, but I'll be honest with you, it was kind of rolling the dice to figure out who was going to be the lead back. I mean, we all talked about it. It could be Aaron Jones, it could be Ty Montgomery, it could be Jamal Williams. We didn't know. We were hoping we would get a clear answer. Well, I think we've, at this point, got a clear answer, so maybe go ahead and steer clear completely from that backfield now.
That was my answer.
So
yeah, it was to a T.
So
it's whatever. Hey, listen, it's whatever guy's going to open up that wallet, slip McCarthy, that high bill, and that's going to be the starting running back today.
Hey, you let me play today. All right. Buffalo Bills QB job is in the air. The Bills believe that starting job is still in the air and up for grabs. BuffaloBills.com states, Peterman has looked sharp during OTAs and minicamp. He's definitely a serious contender for the starting job. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's easy when there's no defense because he can't throw it to the other team.
Trash.
I'm just going to tell you right now, I've got a drop for this. If the Buffalo Bills do use Nathan Peterman as your quarterback, all other fantasy players' potential are awful. So
hold on to your butts.
And that is pretty much what you're expecting for the Buffalo Bills offense.
How many picks did he throw last year in that first half of that?
I think he was making about 6 or 7 apple turnovers in that oven. So
I think, didn't he have 5 for the game or something like that?
It was 5 or 6.
It was high.
It was one of those, 5, 6, or 7. Either way, they brought in A.J. McCarron, and you draft Josh Allen.
He does look kind of like a giraffe.
I'm just saying. But Peterman's the guy still.
Oh, man.
I'm
pick
sorry.
Your poison, I guess.
I think this really hurts everybody involved in this offense if Nathan Peterman is...
Kelvin Benjamin especially.
Hey, don't worry. They got a great offensive line. They made sure they took care of everyone.
They got that taken care of
yeah, they're all
season.
on other teams.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no.
One's retired and 2 left. The other one of them's throwing weights at people in the gym.
Yeah, one unretired, just said, get me off this team. Then he threw weights.
He was throwing weights at Planet Fitness. The other guy is in Cincinnati, and the other guy actually had to retire because of injury.
Maybe he got hit by one of them weights.
He could have been. It might have been a workplace, whatever you want to call it, workplace injury. What's that? What are you on workplace injury?
Workman's comp.
Workman's comp. He just went ahead and pulled that one out. So, anyways, so next segment we've got is going to be the main segment of the day. It's going to be Fantasy Stock Watch. It's the running back edition presented by Fantasy Fate Ball.
This is Fantasy Stock Watch.
All right, Fantasy Stock Watch, running back edition, presented by Fantasy Fate Ball, the one and only Magic 8 Ball for fantasy football. 20 custom answers to help you make those critical start-sit decisions. In the Sunday morning agony, head over to fantasyfateball.com and use promo code HATEFUL8 for $5 off your purchase. I promise I'll try not to have indigestion today. I did not eat any beef jerky or any chips or anything before we came on the air, so hopefully...
Fantastic.
It'll happen.
It'll probably still happen. It'll probably still happen. Sorry in advance. So the biggest thing for us is we picked, like last week, we talked about the quarterbacks. This week, there are a lot of running backs out there that people are either drafting, in my opinion, way too high, looking at these mock drafts, or way too low, and the fact that their ADPs are where they're at. Some of these guys, you're just like, really? That's where they're at? And you see some of the guys that are being drafted either right before them or right after them. It's kind of a scary situation. So it ultimately just comes down to your fantasy draft as to who you're drafting with. Like, who, I mean, we all know how we all draft. So last year when you were behind Thacker and Trimboli over here, your face says it all of how you enjoyed your draft. So
did not like it at all.
I'm not saying
6 running backs between the two of us in the first 3 rounds.
I'm aware.
So I just think that it does definitely dictate to what kind of draft style that you have to take in your specific league draft. Just because somebody says, oh, well, he should be drafted, like if we say this guy should be drafted in the 7th round, if you know that you like this guy and he's sitting there in the 5th round and he is your guy, and you know that he ain't making it to that 6th round because you know that 2 picks from now, Jim down the street in your local fantasy league is going to take said player, you can reach. I'm not saying that you can't reach for somebody, but like if they're going in like the 8th round, please don't take them in the 3rd round, I guess is what we're trying to clarify.
Right, don't reach.
Right.
There's definitely I'm going to get this guy because I want him on my team a round or 2 ahead of where his ADP is versus I want this guy and I'm going to take him in the 3rd pick overall and he's actually not going until like the 3rd round. So I'll let you. Yeah, we've been.
I got this.
Oh,
I got this.
Okay,
I got this thing.
He's the conductor again today.
Listen, I love running backs, so we could talk about these guys all day, every day.
I say this is his camp. This is where it's set up.
Right.
So
a guy that I won't draft very high, and I think is too high, is Derrick Henry. I still can't believe right now he's the RB15 in the 3rd round. I mean, he's splitting the backfield with Lewis. And like I was saying earlier, I still think LaFleur's offense works better with Dion Lewis than it does with Henry.
I think so too.
So, I mean, you're going to see a lot more. I think Lewis is going to see more touches than, not more than Henry, but he's going to see a lot more than what they thought going in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, either way, I mean, last year's numbers say enough that, 744 yards and 5 TDs for Henry. He only had 11 receptions. I think those numbers will all go up. The reception numbers will have to go up in order for him to be an RB15.
Yeah.
So my current ranking, I have him as RB33. No, RB22, sorry. Okay. So, he's a couple spots lower. I think you can get him in the 4th round. That's what I would do. I would wait.
Yeah.
That's my personal preference on him.
All right.
So I guess my question is, do you guys like? So for me, I like Mixon, McKinnon, Collins, Penny, Sonny Michel, and Geis better than Henry.
Wow. So you said all rookies is what you're saying?
Well, I mean, Mixon and McKinnon are not rookies, and neither is Collins. But so yeah, I do like Rashad Penny, Sonny Michel, and Geis more than I like Henry, only because the potential is they're going to be the sole guys in those backfields potentially. Geis is the only one I'm really question mark. Sonny Michel, we'll see what happens there also. But I mean, Rashad Penny, it's his show.
True.
So, and I love Mixon and McKinnon. I love them both. And Alex Collins, I think you're going to see a huge uptick in his production.
I do too. He's a sleeper.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I think we've seen Derrick Henry. We've seen the show. 4.2 yards a carry. I mean, we've seen this.
I just feel bad for the guy because he waited around for what, a year,
2 years,
2 years for DeMarco Murray to leave, and then they bring in
you would
Deion
think,
Lewis.
So they would think when DeMarco leaves that it would be his show, and it's not. So that seems to show that maybe the organization's not completely behind Henry, and they're going to focus on it. They're going to take their offense in a new direction, which Lewis takes them in that new direction.
Or they just don't want to throw him, as the whole workload on him. They want to split it up.
True.
Because he was injured too a lot last year too, Henry.
Yeah.
Him and DeMarco were both injured at times.
Huh. All right. I mean,
So to me, it's too high.
I mean, I still like Derrick Henry in like the standard setup, but I agree with you in like the half and the PPR setup. Definitely, I'm more on the Deion Lewis hype train. But either or, I do think that running back 15 is kind of high for Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I mean, for a guy that we've not actually seen ever really take the full, I guess, workload, and the fact that they did bring in Deion Lewis, who's no slouch.
Right.
So I think it's kind of the same concept as when we talked about Christian McCaffrey and C.J. Anderson. It's not like they went and got Terrence West. No, nothing against Terrence West, but I'm just saying somebody who's not going to really be competing against them. They brought in a guy to compete essentially with Derrick Henry, or to basically be what he can't be, which is the pass-catching back out of the backfield, the shifty guy. That's not Derrick Henry. I mean, the guy's like 7 foot tall. I mean, that's a little exaggeration, but
He's not really that tall.
But
he is a beast. I mean, physically, you just don't understand why it's not all computing on the field. I mean, the numbers aren't there.
I don't know, man. It's Alabama running backs. It's like either they hit or they don't. I mean, they're either on or they're off. I mean, you got guys like Mark Ingram who have been successful, and then you got Sean Alexander. Then you got guys like Trent Richardson who just falls off the map.
Yep.
So, I mean, and they were all good in college, so I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't translate to the NFL. Did you want to do your too low as well?
That works.
Sure.
My too low. I'm going back. I love the rookies.
You are all
and
about the
I'm
rookies.
all on this guy too. I think he's a diamond in the rough right now, and that's going to be Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah.
His ADP is the 11th round. He's the RB 40.
Okay.
Now the beginning of the year, I think Blunt's going to be your starting halfback.
Yeah.
I think Kerryon's going to eventually take over the role, which means he's going to get the bulk of the carries, bulk of the receptions. I think he'll be the 1-2 back with Riddick being, your third down back. So if you get all that, I mean, and my current ranking on him is 33. So I mean, it's pretty similar, but still, I think you can get him. I think I would definitely go up, maybe the 10th or 9th round, a couple rounds ahead of what he's at.
I would say, so you're saying he'd be one of those guys that you kind of stretch out to get at a round or two early if you knew he wasn't going to be there at the 11th round.
He's the guy I reach for.
Okay.
Especially because I think the writing's on the wall. I think he's going to blow up. I think this could be a great pick. Detroit needs a 1,000-yard rusher. They haven't had one forever. I think this guy has the potential to do it. It's just whether or not they're going to give him the opportunity. I think Blunt's track record alone shows that he's not the every down back.
Right.
He's that short yardage and goal line guy. So that's why. I just really like Kerryon. So.
I think Joy Bell was like the last successful running back there in Detroit, honestly.
I think Bush. Reggie Bush had a good. I think the last one to have 1,000 yards.
He might have been. I'm not sure.
But you're right. Bell would have been in that mix too.
But he was the bruiser back that they needed, and they just didn't have that last year. And I think that's why I think they went out and got LeGarrette Blount to kind of bring back that more physical run game. But I think Kerryon Johnson's going to be able to do both.
Right. Well, they're not a great run blocking off line. They're a great pass blocking line. So Kerryon gives them the opportunity to dump the ball off. And if they think he's a 3-down back, I mean, they've come out and said he could handle the load. So I just don't think they're going to totally write off Theo Riddick.
No, I mean they had to decide between him and Abdullah, and it sounds like they're going to be keeping.
And that's what's crazy. That Abdullah is getting the odd man out.
A couple years ago, I would have never, coming out of Nebraska, as hyped as he was and as good as he was, I would never have thought that he'd be the odd man out, honestly.
Yep.
But, all right, who is your too high on this running back edition?
LaShawn McCoy for Buffalo. Right now, his current ADP is 2.08 as the RB13.
Okay.
Last year, he finished RB7 in standard with 1,138 yards, 8 touchdowns for 205 points. Not bad. Even though he was the only running back on the, essentially the only running back they used.
Yeah.
Their QB play was questionable at times. But they had a decent O-line last year.
I was going to say, their offensive line was a little bit better.
Right. This year, as we talked about earlier, 3 starters off that offensive line are missing. And he's going to be, in July, I think he turns 30. So he's going to be in that 30 and over club. So I still think he's a good running back, but I think round 2 is too high to grab him.
Yeah, I mean,
you can get him in the 4th or 5th.
I was going to say, if you could get him in the 4th round, I think that's where I would be comfortable taking him. Maybe the end of the 3rd, 4th round for sure would be definitely 4th round, but maybe round 310, 39 would be like the earliest I feel like I could take him comfortably. I mean, because like you said, no Tyrod Taylor, who I think even though he wasn't the most, I guess, passing quarterback, he had the ability to run, which kind of gave the offset where you could do zone reads or you could kind of do motions and stuff like that and think, oh, well, we've got to watch Tyrod just as much as we've got to watch LaShawn coming out of the backfield. But you got Nathan Peterman, you got I just drew a blank, A.J. McCarron, and then you just brought in Josh Allen, who are all non-mobile quarterbacks. You lost your 3 best offensive linemen, and your best wide receiver is Kelvin Benjamin, which is not a bad thing, but I'm just saying – there's a lot of what-ifs.
Without steady quarterback play, it's going to hurt the run game, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Right. And I just think that what you saw last year was probably the best you're going to see for a while out of LaShawn. I mean, I could be wrong. He could return back to a top 10 performance, but I'm not putting my chips into that basket or eggs in that basket for any way. Not at that ADP. He might even be on my do not draft list. I hate to say that.
I wouldn't go that far, but I'm just saying because he's going to get volume. Yeah. I just don't know how productive he's going to be.
He'll still have a ton of value in PPR, but I don't think I agree with Blackburn over that. I don't think it's going to be his ADP is too high for that right now.
I guess when I say do not draft, my do not draft means I'm not going to be drafting him anywhere in that region. That's what I'm saying. When I say I'm do not, and my best guess is he won't be making it out of the 2nd round in most fantasy drafts. So
if you do, it's risky.
So when I think of do not draft, I think of Mark Ingram.
Ooh.
I'm tempted not to draft at all. He'd have to fall.
It depends on where he falls, but, I mean, he could be there.
I'd have to – for me, I love the running back, so I'm going to take him early and often. So he'd have to fill in that – he'd have to still be there, I guess. Because, I mean, after I'm done capping up on my or reaching back for my wide receivers and tight end, if he's still there on the tail end.
I look for Ingram to be there around the 5. 5 would be a good spot for him, 5 or 6.
I guess my thing is, if he's your 4th running back, would you take him at that point?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
I'd even take him with my, I guess, as my 3rd, but unless I reach too early.
Okay, so what you're saying is you wouldn't draft him at his current ADP for making him your running back 2, essentially. You need him to be your flex play.
Right. I just don't like the idea of 5 weeks potentially out. I mean, that's a big chunk of the season where I'm wheeling and dealing. I'm just holding the roster spot for a guy.
Right. And, I mean, unless you're in like an IR or whatever league where you have an IR spot where you can kind of put him in that to hold him till. But
so you know what I'd rather do is not draft him and then go get him.
Well, somebody will draft him.
Somebody's going to draft him.
So trade?
Yes, that's what I mean. Go trade him in a trade. So don't waste my roster spot. Let me play my guys, and then right around, I don't know, a week or 2 before he's about to return, I go get him then.
Yeah, I mean, because by that time,
depending on what my record is.
I mean, could you think about it? If somebody takes him as their 2nd running back and they're holding on to him for 4 to 5 games or whatever, and let's just say their running back 1 or their 3rd running back that they drafted gets hurt, now they're in a bind. Now they're playing their 1 and their 4, their 3 and their 4 to be their starters at that point. I mean, that could potentially put somebody in a bind. So, yes.
Well, that was your fault for making him your running back, too, anyway, missing 5 weeks.
This is also true.
I agree.
Hey, it could happen.
My 2 low guy, I know I keep harping on him. It's like the 3rd time I've mentioned him this year.
Yeah.
Marlon Mack.
Oh, yeah?
Turn up the man once again. Turn up the man. Top of the world. Turn up the watch my flow.
Yeah, that guy. His current ADP is 808, RB 31. That's disrespectful.
It is for the RB1 on a team that's going to be needing.
You think it's only this low because we're still? I mean, I know I get Lux throwing the ball, but
Yeah.
He's
still
throwing
a question
ball.
mark.
Yeah, I mean, he finished RB 45 last year. He only had 358 yards, 4 total touchdowns for 82 points. But Frank Gore was there. Frank Gore had 290 touches last season. So those touches have to go somewhere. I know they drafted Nyheim Hines for the backup role, but he's only like 5'8", and he's like a little, scat back type guy.
Right.
He's not going to be handling the load. Marlon Mack's going to get that. And that's a steal in the 8th round, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I mean, essentially, if you go get 2 running backs in the 1st and 2nd round, and then you go stack up on wide receivers and tight ends in between that and the 7th, 8th round, and you get Marlon Mack as essentially, if Marlon Mack is your flex running back, essentially, I mean, that's crazy to think. I'm just saying, if you go get a running back 1 and 2, the first 2 picks, and you don't wait till 7th or 8th round to grab him.
This goes back to the Ingram argument, where if you have to get Ingram in the 5th or 4th round, you wait and get a starting running back in the 8th, and think about all the capital you have in between.
Right.
Ooh.
And
they're all playing.
If Luck's healthy, too, that's going to help because Marlon Mack catches, too, as well as runs.
Man.
So that's how I look at it. That's why Marlon Mack's a great. I mean, I'd love him high. That's why, unfortunately, he's gonna go higher when Luck. The more Luck progresses, his ADP is gonna go up.
Yeah. So what did you have any notes as to why you had him, or just that was your main reason? Was that it's just in general it's just kind of disrespectful?
I mean, it's his show.
Right.
So and
it's your bull.
Well, I'm just saying he could be a RB2, RB3, and they got him going in the 8th round. I mean,
that's just
you're getting a starting back in the 8th round.
Basically, yeah.
Or a team's RB1. That's crazy.
I understand that, like, Andrew Luck is not 100% and may not be playing, or may play but may not be ready to go. I mean, whatever. But still, even if Andrew Luck is not playing and it's Jacoby Brissett, there's a good chance they're playing from behind a lot, which means you're going to have a lot of checkdowns, a lot of getting down the field, a lot of throwing the ball. I mean, they're going to have to throw the ball more than they're running it. But still, like you said, with Marlon Mack being able to catch the ball out of the backfield, why wouldn't you take a guy in that late of a round that's going to be potentially getting nothing but volume?
Yeah, Hines isn't going to be your bulk. He's not going to be the bulk of the carries.
No.
He's going to be your gadget play guy, your Tariq Cohen,
Yeah.
So it's Marlon Mack's show.
I mean, Nyheim Hines is essentially, that's a good point to make, like Tariq Cohen. I mean, he's going to be the guy that kind of is like the X factor where he can kind of come in, catch out of the backfield, make a few shifty moves, get you 35 yards, and he's out, and then you put Marlon Mack back in, and he scores you a touchdown. I mean, that's essentially what you're looking at. I mean, that's what Jordan Howard did a lot last year. Tariq Cohen would catch a few of these dump passes, take it down the field for 60, 70 yards, and then Jordan Howard would run it in, or they'd toss it to a tight end or something. I mean, they never really used Tariq Cohen as like the short yardage goal line guy. So I just hope that Marlon Mack's shoulder is okay by the time the season starts. And I've not heard anything negative about his healing process, so I'm all on board on this being way too low, honestly.
Yeah.
I would take him in the 6th round, honestly, and that would be my comfortable spot where I would not feel like I'm reaching to grab
6
to draft
is a good
him.
spot.
Yep.
So, all right. For me, see, there it is. Man, I almost made it. I made
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach.
It's pink.
Diarrhea.
It's pink. Jay Ajayi, too high for me. Current ADP in the 10 team is 310, running back 18. So I don't know. He did finish as the first, the number 1 running back in for the Eagles with 59.9 fantasy points. However, that was only 7.7 fantasy points ahead of the guy who finished second on the team, which is Clement. So at 52.2.
Now, real quick, did you look at the split from when he came on? Is that what that was?
Yeah, I took the split from when
Okay.
he was with the Eagles through the rest of the season. So I didn't even put in the Miami Dolphins numbers.
Trust me, it wasn't much.
No, it wasn't.
Right. Well, that's what I was just curious.
There might be a few of those like zeros in that column.
He
but-
didn't have a touchdown. I'll tell you that.
So
Yeah. Didn't he have one all year?
1 or 2.
maybe.
I think he had one in Miami
Yeah.
on the way out the door.
So, but for me, I mean, you got no LeGarrette Blount as he's now over in Detroit. But the thing that I started looking at some of the numbers in the splits was Ajayi had 37% of the running back snaps, Clement had 29%, and Blount had 28%. Now you don't have LeGarrette Blount in there, so those snaps are going to have to go to somebody.
Well, you got Sproles still.
That's where I'm thinking that
Yep.
Sproles is going to fit into that. I don't think that they're going to take all 28% and give them and split it between Ajayi and Clement. I think Sproles is going to come into this role at some point. Now, here's the interesting thing. So at 37% and 29% respectively between the two, Ajayi and Clement both were averaging just under a half a point per snap. I mean, that's the telltale. So essentially, Clement was doing more with less. They were actually seeing, I mean, Ajayi had 42% of the touches from the backfield, where Blount had 48, which we all know that was a lot of the short yardage and goal line stuff. But Clement had 27%. Then you had per touch was 7.75 points, where Blount had 0.39, and Clement had 1.13. So Clement was doing a lot with, like I said, with a little. Now, when you do a comparison, Ajayi is being drafted as a running back 18, so round 3, pick 10, so the end of the third round, where Clement is being drafted as a running back 47, so the 13th round. So right around that defense kicker range. So for me, Ajayi, I'm not saying can't be a running back 2, but with the current draft price, it's just too high for me, and I've got him as my running back 26 in standard. I just think that Sproles is going to want he's going to want some snaps out of the backfield, and he's going to get a lot of the passing down. And I think that Clement is younger. He's got more upside. He's got more pop in the backfield, and he just seems to be more reliable.
Do they still got Smallwood too?
They do currently still have Wendell Smallwood. So I'm just saying, there's just a lot of mouths to feed in that backfield, and I'm not 100% sure that Ajayi is going to see much more than what he saw. Yeah, he's going to know the offense a little bit better, but Clement did more with less, and why wouldn't you ride the hot hand? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't draft him at all. I'm just saying being in the third round, anywhere in the third round, I think that's kind of high for a guy who's got a lot of question marks with health for his knees. A guy behind him like Clement who could potentially take the job from him, or at least take carries away from him. I would just be more comfortable taking some of the other running backs or even wide receivers that are in that range. So, and then the too low for me is Lamar Miller. This might not be a popular one, but his current ADP in a 10-team league is 5.05 as a running back 21. So 3 picks behind, or 3 running back picks behind Jay Ajayi. Now, he finished, even with horrible quarterback play, horrible line play, he did finish as the running back 14 still. So he was still a running back 2, which is kind of scary to think that, because there was a lot of weeks he wasn't, as Trimboli would say, he wasn't the sexy play that week, that pick.
A lot of weeks.
But he was still, he was doing something. He just didn't, it wasn't wowing people by breaking off 30-yard runs and stuff like that. But during the games that Watson and him were all both in there, so from weeks 2 to week 9, including the bye week, obviously you would take that out, he was a running back 9 during that time frame, which, as we all know, Watson's going to be back this year. Now, I'm reading a lot more into it and seeing that Deonta Foreman is potentially going to start on the PUP list for the year, which means he's going to be out for the first 6 games, which that means it's just him and Alfred Blue. And Alfred Blue didn't do a whole lot last year when he was given the opportunity to be the guy, or at least got more involved in the offense. Miller had 69% of the running back snaps, while Blue and Foreman both shared 21% each. So, just saying, Miller still was commanding a lot of the offense from the running back position, and he was averaging this is where it's bad when you see it. Miller was only averaging 0.21 fantasy points a snap, where Foreman was doing 0.35 and Blue was 0.24. That's not good for a guy who was seeing 69% of the snaps. That's the question. It's just like, what do you have? But I just, with Foreman having more touches or more points per touch with 0.61 and Miller having 0.57. During the stint with Watson, Miller had 65 or 0.65 fantasy points, where Foreman had 0.46. So you saw the difference, the jump a little bit when Watson was the quarterback. And I guess that's what I keep going back to is Watson is going to be there. The offensive line, they are improving a little bit. The defense should be back to wholeness with Watt being in there and Clowney and all these guys. I just think that they're going to pick up where they left off at and run. And Houston, when they had Brock Osweiler, he was still the running back 18, and Osweiler was horrible there in Houston, like awful, and he still was the running back 18. So
yeah, when you got to give a team a second-round pick to get rid of him,
right? So running back 18 in 2016, where that offense was horrible, and then running back 14 last year, where at some points they weren't even running the ball, I don't think, because it was just to DeAndre Hopkins continually. I just think that he's a consistent running back 2 with a potential running back 1 upside. I guess that's what I'm looking at when I see this. So to get a guy who has not finished outside the running back 2 spectrum in the last 2 years, even with a awful offense the 1 year, I just think that he should be drafted a little bit higher than what he's being in the 5th round as a running back 21. I think he should be drafted somewhere right around where Jay Ajayi is being drafted right now, in that end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that. I just don't know if is he your RB11 right now?
He is currently my running back 11. I know.
You must really like Watson then.
I do like Watson. I like all parts involved in that Houston offense. So
Because he's going to live and die by Watson. That's how.
Well, the whole team is.
That's what scares me with Lamar Miller. But see, Hopkins, I don't think he's going to live and die by Watson. I think he's.
Well, he proved it last year. He didn't have to.
Well, but they don't have Savage. Who's the backup quarterback?
Uh-oh.
Where's the Jeopardy theme?
Where's that boom? Where's that boom knowledge? Come on.
I don't even know who
I
it
have
is.
no clue.
It's not Whedon.
I'm just drawing a blank.
It's not Yates.
It's not Yates. It's not Hoyer. I'm trying to think who the other guys who would have been there, but I'll just tell you, it's nobody that's going to be to the talent level that. But
I mean, even though Tom Savage was not that great, he was comfortable with, and Hopkins, they were familiar with each other.
right, and I mean, the offensive. Man, the offense.
Oh, look. This is going to be bad.
It's bad.
Oh, man.
The offense as a whole still
Oh, man.
moved. It just did not move through the run game by any chance.
Who is it?
I'm going to talk about some guys that have already hit puberty. Brandon Whedon, Stephen Morris, and Joe Webb. That's your backups.
So is Brandon Whedon still there?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Stephen Morris would probably be my best option out of Miami, though. At least he's mobile.
So is Joe Webb. But
Yep. That's it.
Oh, my.
You better hope
oh man,
he don't tear an
I'm
ACL, MCL.
I'm still sold on Lamar Miller. I mean, the guy has not finished outside the top 20 the last 2 years, even with a horrible offense and horrible quarterback play and a no good defense, no good offensive line, and he still finished.
Listen,
that.
I'm fine with what you said about the 4th round. That's perfect.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess ultimately the guys that we're looking at. I mean, there's some other guys that people were talking about in the chat that I posted on a sleeper bot. Guys were saying like Hyde and Crowell, and these guys were going too high, and somebody said Dalvin Cook was going too high. Some people were saying the
Just
running
stop that talk about
right the
Dalvin
running backs.
Cook.
They said all the rookie running backs are going way too high right now. So
I'm way too high right on my team.
right. So I mean, like I said, ultimately I think we all can agree that yeah, there are set ADPs, but ultimately it comes down to your draft and how you want to draft and the players that you want, and as well as the guys that you're drafting against. Because if you got a guy, like I said, if you know that the guy next to you is wanting the same player that you're wanting and he's willing to take him a round earlier, if you really want that player, you might have to take it 2 rounds earlier to get ahead of him on the draft. I mean,
don't reach, young blood.
After the first 2, you kind of got to look at your team and realize, what do you need? For me, I'm always looking, I need wide receivers. But I also look in front of me, does everyone need a running back?
True.
I might still sneak one in, knowing that I can snake back and still get a good wide receiver. Because now these guys are looking through the bottom of the barrel. These running backs.
See, I don't look at what other people have.
I love that's my favorite part.
I just go off of who I think's the most value at that round.
Well, I do that too, but I mean, I guess what I also
like that's why I'll take a quarterback in round 3 if he's there.
Well, that's where we differ.
I know.
I won't even look. I don't even think I look at that page to see who I have crossed off until like the 7th round, unless Aaron Rodgers is staring me at the face.
Right.
In the 5th or 4th.
Well, he ain't gonna do that.
I'm not a joke.
Not with me in your league.
Right, you're right.
So, like I said, so you see what you're saying when you're talking about draft, but I mean, please just don't reach for guys just because you want the guy. I mean, I'm not saying don't go around or so.
Or name like LaShawn McCoy.
Right, just because his name is LaShawn McCoy, please don't take him like it's your first pick, like the early on in the 2nd round, please. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are still on LaShawn McCoy and saying he's going to be the guy, he's getting volume. He is going to get volume, but is he going to be able to, 1, stay healthy? 2, how bad is that offense going to be? I mean, bad offense with lots of volume can be potentially good, but at some point the wheels are going to fall off completely, and then you're stuck with a guy that you drafted in the 2nd round who is either going to potentially be injured and or not being successful. And that's the bad spot. We talked about it, and we've talked about it in our draft last year. One of our guys in our league mates had David Johnson as his first pick, Then he had Aaron Rodgers as his third pick, correct? Or
Second.
Was his second pick. So, and we all know how that ended. So
That's just bad luck.
Well, another one of our guys drafted DeMarco Murray in the second round last year, just where McCoy's projected to
Right.
go. And he didn't do that great.
no.
No. Well, and
And he was in a better offense.
McCoy's got to be a PPR guy if you're going to draft him that high. Yeah, you have to be in a PPR scoring league. I mean,
Right.
you can't. It's standard league. I think
Well,
it's
this
a stretch.
is standard.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
where it's a stretch.
Right.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So we talked about the guys, and we've talked about them respectively as to what their current ADP are. What did you say, LaShawn McCoy's second round?
Yeah, second round, eighth pick.
Okay, so what is your consensus? Like, what's the earliest that you'll draft him in a standard league? Third round, like by round. I'm not saying by 2-7. I'm saying, like, what round are you willing to the earliest that you're going to draft him? Are you willing to take him in the second round
No,
in a standard league?
Third
Round.
Here's what's crazy about that, and I would have already drafted 2 running backs by then.
And you're still questioning the third
He'd be
round.
a good flex. I would have no problem putting him in the flex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying third round would be where you're comfortable
Low
drafting him.
low third, high fourth. That's where I would feel comfortable.
I would say middle of the third round in general. I feel like middle to back into the third, I'd be all right taking him.
Right.
But I wouldn't feel
No, I
good
mean-
if I'm on the snake pick at the end of the second, beginning of the
If you're
third.
if you're in a 12-man league, I really have no issue with him being your RB2.
No.
If you're on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
tail
yeah.
end of a 2.
But in a
So-
10 team, I worry about taking him in the second round.
But see, that's what scares me when you go wide receiver and now you're staring down the barrel of LaShawn McCoy as your RB1. That is not what you want to do.
No.
No.
So you have to me, you have to pair him in a situation like how I draft. I like 2 running backs. So
Yeah,
You'd have to
you would
draft
not
him that
want him
way.
being your number 1 running back off the
You
board.
have him and Derrick Henry as your RB1,
Oh, my
RB2.
That's just a uh-oh.
just sign me up for the punishment.
Right.
And give me that loser's trophy.
So then your other guy was, you said too high or too low
Too
was
low.
Marlon Mack, and
Yeah.
he's 8th round, correct?
Yes.
Okay, what's the earliest that you're willing to draft him?
Me?
Yeah. I know he's your boy, so that's why I
Middle-
wanted to ask before
Middle to the back of the 5th, preferably 6th.
Okay, so 5th, 6th, into the 5th, beginning of the 6th is where you said you're good. I would say about the 6th round, middle of the 6th round, I'd be comfortable taking him.
Because if the quarterback's not there, essentially that's 2 running backs, 2 receivers already gone.
True.
And then you're looking for a flex guy, and if he's there in the 5th round or 6th round, I have no problem doing that.
Okay, so where are you going to take him in a standard league?
I agree. It would be the middle of the 6th into the 7th.
See, I think 6th round in general is a good, safe zone to draft him in, but
Problem is how I draft. So that's what I think in my head when I answer this question. But if you do where you're basically even, you're adding up your team. So
Right.
you'd have 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, probably a tight end and a quarterback by then. Then I look at, okay, he's a great flex play.
yeah. Okay, and then for you, your running back, who was your running back with those 2 high? Was
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, and he's being drafted what round? 3rd? Or is it 4th?
He is the 3rd round.
That is, okay. Since we all know that he's obviously too high for you,
Right.
where would you draft him? 4th round?
4th or 5th.
That's actually where I like
I was going to say
4th.
4th round, towards the back end of the 4th, beginning of the 5th would be a good spot for me. And I like Derrick Henry, and with what we're seeing potential, I'm not 100% sure. So, and then your too low is
Kerryon Johnson.
And where's he being drafted? You said 12th round?
11th round.
11th round. Okay, so 11th round, where are you comfortable drafting this guy?
I wouldn't touch him.
See, he's not
I know.
I just don't like
No,
the
which is
blunt
fine.
And I don't like the ones that have 2 or 3 guys that they can go through, like Philly, Detroit.
Right.
I don't like it, so I won't even look at them.
Now, would you make a move for him maybe after a couple games of seeing that LeGarrette Blount's probably not going to be the guy for very much longer?
I mean, I'm always open for trade.
See, he's the trade guy. I would say for me, if he was my 5th running back or 4th running back, I think I could be comfortable in the beginning where you're drafting, because you're drafting him on a lot of potential and
Right.
what ifs. You're not drafting him on knowing he is the guy day one. Now, I'm not saying if we get into the preseason by this point and he is the guy, and we know that LeGarrette Blount, whether it be by injury or
Well, that's different.
issue-wise, I'm just saying at this very moment, I think the earliest I could draft him was probably the 10th round.
Right.
Just the what ifs.
That's what I mean. That's what I was getting at. He's too low. He's my reach guy.
Yeah.
So if I
Right.
have to reach, that's the round I'd like to reach him in.
He's a guy you put on your bench and wait and see.
If he's the if LeGarrette Blount's not the guy and Carry-On's the guy,
Yeah.
then I could see him jumping up maybe 3-4 rounds.
Right.
I think he will. I think his ADP is going to rise a little bit.
All right. JJ, 310. So it's into the third round. Do you think that's too high, or do you think that's comfortable?
Third round?
Into the third.
See, I like end of the fourth, fifth.
Okay. I like more towards the fifth round for me.
I don't mind
You don't mind
End of
him
the
at the end of the third?
Nah,
All right.
until I see otherwise.
All right. And then Lamar Miller, fifth round, middle of the fifth round. Too high, too low, or okay?
I think okay.
I agree. I think it's okay.
All right. I was saying fourth. I
Maybe
figure around
maybe
fourth round.
maybe reach, depending on how you draft. You know, if you're one of those guys that get the wide receivers first and he's sitting there, then you can
Yeah.
snag him in the fourth.
Right. That's why I was thinking fourth round would be about the earliest I would take him. But that's just me. So.
I'm not, both those guys I'd be scared about. If they, like, I'd be scared if Ajayi was my first round, or my RB1 if you went, like, wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be bad. All right. Anything else?
Or if you went QB.
Not first.
Yeah.
You do that, you're done.
David Johnson.
Unless you're in like a
Andrew-
super flex or whatever.
Andrew,
You're in a one-man league.
Right.
where you're drafting against yourself. What did he just draft? All right. You guys got anything else?
Negative.
No.
I thought you were going to say negative Ghost Rider or something. I thought you were going to be piggyback off that. All right.
Nope.
Nope. All right. We want to say thanks again to all you guys for tuning in to today's show, whether that's through the podcast or on YouTube. Please check out our site, thehateful8ff.com, where you can check out our articles and apparel. Guys playing chess. Follow our personal accounts at jpickle, TH8FF, at jblackburn, TH8FF, and at ftrim, TH8FF. Don't forget to join the average donation via the Patreon tab on the site, where you can sign up. I went with a British accent there. And pre-order the 2018 draft loadout. Finally, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I mean, we had one guy that I learned this off air.
So
what
did I.
first means. When someone puts first in the comments, they're literally just saying they were the first to comment. Has no like actual meaning other than they
No.
were just the first to comment.
Yep. If you read a girl, the first guy on there always puts first. That's it.
Listen, we love to read the comments, so
Yes.
write something.
I'm not
Tell
gonna
us
lie.
where we're right. Tell us where we're wrong. Give me your RBs too high,
Yeah,
too low.
Too high, too low. I'm interested because I just putting in the sleeper bot question, people wide variety of left and right as to who they thought were too high or too low. So it was kind of interesting. So, like I said, don't forget. And thanks again. See you guys next week.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight. He's a chump finishing last.